Hello everybody, my name is Kaylee and I'm an INFJ 9 Wing 1. Today we're going to be talking about some misconceptions about Enneagram Type 9, some common things people get a little confused about when thinking about Type 9s. Before we get into the video, make sure you subscribe and check out my website. It's going to be linked in the description box below. Also, side note, if you are a 7 Wing 8 watching this video for some reason, or you know a 7 Wing 8 who knows about the Enneagram, be sure to email me if you would be willing to do a interview with me to continue on in my Enneagram interview series. We would do a Zoom call and, we'd film together and ask you some questions, and then I would upload that video on the channel to share with everyone. So if you are a 7 Wing 8 and you're interested, be sure to email me and let me know. All right. I think that's pretty much it. Let's get into common misconceptions about Enneagram Type 9. Okay, so a little bit of a disclaimer. Some of these misconceptions, the reason why these are pretty common or typical beliefs that people have about Type 9s is because a lot of 9s display some of these behaviors, especially kind of unhealthier 9s. If you're a 9 and you're in maybe a more unhealthy place in life, you might find yourself doing these kinds of things. But that being said, this is not what makes up a 9. So just to clarify, we are going to go over these misconceptions. First one being 9s are lazy and they do not like doing anything. If they could have life their way, they would just, be on a beach somewhere, not doing anything all day, every day. That's not the case. Some of the most hardworking people I know are 9s. 9s follow routine a lot, and sometimes when you have a healthy routine, you will end up getting more done than, maybe a type that you would think of as a doer who doesn't have a routine. So 9s, remember, their sin is sloth and laziness. That is not what makes up who a 9 is. So if you're finding you're going to feel a temptation to procrastinate or to put something off or do something the easier way a lot of times as a 9, but that doesn't mean that you are going to do it. The same as we think, the sin of the 5 is stinginess. That doesn't mean that a 5 is going to be stingy. Or the sin of the 2 is pride. That doesn't mean they're going to be prideful. Stuff like that. So the 9, just because your sin is laziness and sloth does not mean that you have to indulge in your sin. So, 9s are very hardworking people. A lot of the 9s that I know are very hardworking people. And, like to use their time wisely and then take a break when it's time to take a break. Okay, next would be Type 9s are just happy doing anything and don't really care. I think the reason this is a little bit of a misconception with 9s is because a lot of 9s don't know what they want. They don't know what they're looking for. So if they don't know what they really care about, then they'll just do whatever is being done so that, they're doing something, but they don't necessarily have a preference. Every single human being has preferences. Every person is allowed, and every person does inherently like one thing over another. So, just because you're 9, even if you can't necessarily find what you care about, that doesn't mean you don't care about things. So, kind of going with the assumption that, like a 2, they want to do the dishes. They want to help. When we're all having a good time watching a movie, they enjoy doing the dishes. No, they don't want to be left out and wiping your butt. But they do it because that's their impulse. The 9 might not necessarily know what they want or what they care about, but that doesn't mean that they don't actually care about things. They probably, since they're a withdrawn type, if you're 9, you just need to get some time by yourself, alone, without anyone's input, and figure out what you actually do like and care about. Next, this one is very similar to the last one, and it's that 9s aren't passionate. 9s don't really care about, they don't care about things as intensely as other people. That's not really the case. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not the case. So if a 4 or a 3 or an 8 or a 7 has a dream or a goal or an ambition, you're probably going to hear about it. What they care about, what they want to do, you probably are going to know about that. Just because you don't know what your 9 is passionate about doesn't mean that they aren't passionate about something. Some 9s are very passionate about, harmony and not disturbing and not disrupting. That kind of goes with the idea that a lot of people think 9s are very, that they don't have a strong personality. They're like, well, 8s have a strong personality. 7s and 3s, the assertive types, they have strong personalities, but not, 9s and some of these other types, they don't really have a strong personality. I don't like that term of strong or weak personality. It's more of a assertive personality, honestly, because just as much as the 8 wants to just pick up and go and start doing as soon as they have this idea, the 9 doesn't want to do that. So just as much as the 8 is the unstoppable force, the 9 is the immovable object. So to say that a 9 is weak or not passionate about something because you don't see their strength or their passion the same way you see other people's doesn't mean that they don't have strength or passion. And if you're a 9 and you can't figure out what you're passionate about, it's probably the thing that you're trying to protect at all cost. Whether you're feeding it or you're trying to grow or take care of your passion, 9s have that fear of loss. It might be whatever you're trying to protect from losing. I don't want to have conflict in this relationship because I don't want my spouse to be upset, or I don't want to lose this friendship, or, I don't want people to be disappointed in me with school, so I have to do good, blah, 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 that kind of thing. You're trying to protect something. Obviously, you're putting a lot of work into protecting yourself from losing something. And that would be kind of an indicator that you really do care about something. Just try to get to the bottom of what that is. And then, you look at the, I'm going to say medium healthy to healthier 9s, they make great leaders. They make great leaders, great bosses, great CEOs, because, they have this ability to see kind of perspective a little bit, and they have this value of making sure everybody's doing well in their job and in their company and stuff. So they can be good people to be in charge if they are in this healthier side of 9, where they're moving to that 3, taking initiative, and they figured out what they're passionate about and they're going for it. So I've met a couple 9s who are just really good bosses their whole life. They're retired now, but they ran successful companies for a long time, and that was kind of surprising to me when I first met them and heard their stories and stuff. And I was like, okay, I guess after 65 years of being on this planet, you've kind of developed and grown in ways that a 25-year-old hasn't. Anyways, so next point is 9s, the misconception that 9s don't really feel that happy or that sad. They don't really have intense emotions. 9s, when they're unhealthy and they're in that sloth and in their, in that laziness, they, that laziness and sloth extends all the way into thinking and feeling. Because, 9s are a separated type where their doing is separated from thinking and feeling. They're either doing things kind of in a routine, or, they made a plan and they're just doing it, or they're in thinking and feeling and they are processing their emotions and thinking about what they care about and making plans, whatever. So when the 9 is really unhealthy and in that sloth, they can go as far as to not process these emotions that are painful and bad and uncomfortable. So the misconception is that all 9s are this way. All 9s don't really have strong feelings, opinions, thoughts, emotions, whatever. That's not really the case. 9s can be very opinionated people. Even if the opinion is, you shouldn't be telling people what they can and can't do. You don't know what stage in life they're in, whether your position and your strong thoughts and feelings might be protecting other people from, getting their thoughts and feelings infringed on. That's still your thought and that's still your feeling. But the idea that 9s don't have these deeper feelings and emotions, I think probably for the self-preservation 9, that might be more of a tendency to not access those thoughts and feelings or at least the feelings, because it's more uncomfortable. They're trying to preserve themselves from that uncomfortable inward life. But that's not what healthy, well-adaptive people do. They experience life, including their inner life. They don't just shut it down. They don't push it down. So, 9s are good at not letting their feelings get the best of them, but it should come naturally at some point in your life. If you are on this journey of becoming more healthy, it should come naturally to just experience an emotion and that be okay, and not try to kind of logically talk it away. And that's another point, is a lot of people don't think 9s are very intellectual. They are a doing type, but they do have that separation between doing, thinking, and feeling. So this doing separated from thinking and feeling, 9s can sometimes look like 4s. They can also sometimes look like 5s. I've talked to a lot of 9s and a lot of appointments with 9s that think they might be a 4 or a 5 or a 9, and they can't figure out which type they are. And then by the end of our sessions, they're like, okay, yes, I'm a 9. I am. But, they have this strong pull towards this, inner world. And with that inner world, there's a lot of thought, critical thinking, deep thinking. And, 9s are, there's no reason why a 9 is less intellectual than any other person. There's no reason that any of the types are any less intellectual than the other person, other than they have a compulsion to not be as intellectual, or, and that's one thing is with the Enneagram. I think I'm going to make another video later on kind of like the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Enneagram, of, the things I like about it and I don't. And most of the things about the Enneagram that I don't really like are user errors of, how people use the Enneagram. And one of those things can be people can excuse their bad behaviors because they're a certain type. And so when you start finding yourself being like, oh, I'm a 9, I don't have to think about this, I don't have to, I get to rest, I'm just a peacemaker and I don't have to challenge myself, that's not good. That's not what anyone should be doing, is, excusing their bad behavior or their excusing their sin, whatever their core sin is, excusing that because that's their natural tendency. We should be trying to get better as people throughout our life, not stay stagnant. Okay, let's see. I think I have one more. And the last one is that 9s are all kind of quiet and shy, and they don't really need to show up intellectually, and that they don't have anything to do with conflict ever. The more unhealthy 9 is called the sleeper. The Medium healthy 9 is called the harmonizer, and the healthy 9 is called the fully conscious individual, which sleeper versus fully conscious, that's pretty much opposite. And then you have in the middle the harmonizer, where most people that are 9s fall into that middle, average, medium group of harmonizer. Yes, it's true, harmonizing, you don't want to push other people's limits, especially, the sleeper. They don't want to disturb others because they don't want to be disturbed themselves. Another thing is they don't want to, the harmonizer and the sleeper, they don't want to get involved in other people's conflict because they don't want to experience conflict. But depending where you are in that middle to healthier space, the fully conscious individual to the harmonizer, somewhere in there, conflict is where you should be drawn to, because the only way you can harmonize is if everyone is in line where they ought to be. When somebody sings off key and everyone else is singing their parts, you can tell that's not quite right. And instead of running away from that, going to it and being like, hey, in a nice, loving, compassionate, sympathetic way, the nicest way possible I can say it, please stop. Let's do something different. You need to get help. So that fully conscious individual is truly the idea of a peacemaker, the name of the 9, not the peacekeeper. People refer to weapons as a peacemaker because sometimes something has to be done about fixing the lack of peace, the discord and disruption. So the idea that 9s always run away from conflict, they retreat, that is more of a typical sleeper, some levels of that harmonizer kind of role. Not every 9 is shy of conflict. Not every 9 runs away from every conflict because, sometimes for a lot of 9s, conflict can be empowering. In the way that it's empowering for a 4 and for an 8. Through this argument, not only do we resolve the problem, I'm heard and you feel heard. Our relationship is stronger because of this, but I know that we can make it through hard times and you're not just going to leave me and I'm not going to leave you. So, that's pretty much it. I know some of these misconceptions, they are here for good reason because they are the more negative tendencies, the path to de-evolution for the 9. When they're in this kind of rut, they might look more like these things, but that is not what makes up the values of a 9. That's not what any type should be known for, is their ugly side. So since I know a lot about 9s, that's the video I decided to make today. Anyways, yes, if you are a 7 wing 8, or a 7 wing 8, be sure to email me. Check out my website if you want to have an appointment. Subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. I'll see you guys in another video soon. I hope this was helpful and you enjoyed it. And let me know in the comments if you know any misconceptions. All right, bye.